What punishments of God are not gifts? I heard this quote in a video from someone I do not know. And if you truly wish to know, I'm sure it's just a search away. But or the context in which it was said and the person who said it, I don't think matters as much as the quote itself. I don't think it ever does. The quote is always the valuable part. And truly, what punishments of God are not gifts? For to receive a gift in a place or for an action that deserves punishment is truly punishment, because we are reinforced by praise. And if you praise a bad action, what kind of father, would you be? Because I mean, you can just imagine God as being, the father figure, or just a guardian. What type of guardian would you be if you praised wrong actions that were going to be to the detriment of the person and the people in contact with this person? And I think that's why so often we need to try to grasp what a situation is telling us instead of, saying, woe is me, and complaining and whining. Because I believe there's always reasons for negative emotions, for just feeling the things that we feel. Now I know we don't have complete control over these things, and I'm not trying to claim that, but if you would bear with me and just imagine the fact that the emotions you're having today are due in part to things that have happened in the past, ways you've acted, maybe, principles you've upheld or principles you've lost. I think anyone who loses their principles has a hard time being happy, because wherever you go, there you are. And you'll always remember, you always know, even if it's not at the frontal lobe of your brain, somewhere deep down, you'll know you're no longer the man of principles you wish to be, you used to be, and you could be. And who's to say this doesn't just spout up negative emotions subconsciously from something, God, our soul, our subconscious, trying to make us more in alignment with our nature, make us a better person again. Now, I don't claim that all emotions are under control, and obviously things come out of nowhere, thoughts come out of nowhere, but I don't think it's unrealistic to say that we are in part responsible for some, if not most, of our emotions, from past actions and present actions, which we are embarking on. And I guess the whole point is just to realize that a punishment is a gift if it is a just punishment, if it is a deserving punishment, and if you do believe in God, or you do believe in a just universe, or you do believe in anything of that nature, then these punishments are just. And a just punishment is a gift. For, as I said, a gift in place of where a punishment should be is an actual real punishment. It is not a gift. It is one of those things that is instant gratification. It is easy now, but making it for a hard future. I think you can see that time and time again in the wisdom literature and in the wise people who speak today. I know I've heard Naval Ravikant speak on how, if you want to have the best life, make the hardest decisions. Because yeah, it'll be hard now, but in the end, you will reap your fruits. The fruits of your labor will be will be reaped. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, because I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says you're never entitled to your fruits; you're only entitled to your labors. So, you know, but I think there's always a case to be argued for each and every case. You could have one of the wisest arguments for something, and then it's polar opposite. You could also have a profound wisely argument for. So, who's to say which is right and which is wrong? And who's to say one isn't right for one and one isn't right for another? So, as always, just do that which your heart tells you to, the still small voice, which you believe is right. And I think when we get stuck in the idea and the notion that we are being punished, that this is bad, that this sucks, that woe is me, that I'm the most wretched human being ever to exist, we cannot learn the lessons which the situation is trying to help us learn. And that is the true pity of the situation, because you will go through it again and again and again, because you are refusing to learn the lessons that is bringing this situation about. As I said, emotions are not all under control, and everything that happens to us, almost nothing that happens to us is under our control. But I think in a certain way, in a game of, statistics and probability, you can drop the probability of things and say if you're always getting in a fight, or you're always getting into trouble at 1 a.m. when you're out clubbing, it's like, all right, am I going to keep continuing to say, this is crazy, like I'm the most unlucky person, like how do I keep getting put in these bad situations with these bad people at these, like it makes no sense. Even if you're doing nothing wrong, you're at the club at 1 a.m. You're in a situation which bad things happen. There's like people say that nothing good happens after like 11 p.m. or something, like 12 p.m. And it's like, yeah, maybe you're not in the wrong in these situations. Maybe you're not in the wrong, but you are in the wrong place. And at one point or another in your life, you'll have to start accepting that being in the wrong place is your fault. And you can either learn from this, or you can continue to place yourself in the wrong place at the wrong times and complain to everybody about how you're so unlucky and about how you keep getting punished. But maybe you should not be there. And maybe those punishments are good, because if you could just step away from being unlucky, you could see that, I mean, it does happen pretty often. Something that's truly unlucky doesn't happen all that often. And you can learn the lessons, and you can grow, and you can stop being punished. And is that not amazing? Is that not a true gift? To right a wrong and then live in the right, no longer falling into the wrong. As I said, praise reinforces our actions. And obviously, punishment, yeah. I don't know why it took me so long. Punishment unreinforces our actions. You have the people do that with an elastic band when they want to stop doing something. A little bit of pain. Okay, no, wrong. I don't do that. Or when you're learning something and you're building the neuro links, the neural pathways to learning something, like playing the guitar. Even in your head, it's like you hear the noise, you're like, wrong. Like you try again, wrong. And then, oh, you get it right. The neural, it's a lot goes on in that moment. And your brain says, that was it. Like neural pathway built, and then you do it again, and then wrong. You're like, okay, it reinforces that this is a wrong activity and that we should not be doing that if I want to make good music. And then when you do a good thing, it reinforces it with a gift, probably a little bit of dopamine, a neural pathway, and so on and so forth. But I think you get the point. And I think it's much deeper than I even put it, and much deeper than I can even comprehend. But the punishments of God are truly gifts. And that's even for the really bad things that we don't know why happen, and that we don't understand why, and that there can't be a just reason in the world for it. There's the book of Job is one of my favorite books in the Bible because Job is the most virtuous person. He is God's number one person, pious, virtuous, kind, loving. He has everything. And he's pious and prays to God. And, Satan comes and says, the only reason he loves you is because of all these gifts you have showered upon him. His money, his his land, his family, and God basically says that is not the case, and has Satan do very bad things to Job, basically take away everything he loves, and Job, stays fairly pious through it all, even though everyone around him is telling him that he must have done something so wrong. And finally, he asks God, why? And God shows him basically the universe and shows him how there's so much going on, that there's so much that he can't even comprehend, how this little thing is just, and he just has to trust. And he shows him why it was just, essentially, but it's something you can only comprehend with God's help, with God's mind. So you just have to have faith, and you just have to trust. And I guess that kind of goes against the point of what I just made, because he wasn't, even God says he wasn't deserving of punishment. So it does kind of go against what I said. But I'm always here to just speak the truth and more have a conversation than preach to you, because I'm trying to learn as well. But I do also believe that if you look at it in that sense, what good came out of that punishment if he was just? For a second, let's just say it's a true story, which I probably don't believe, but let's just say it is. How many people have benefited from that story? Would Job not look back upon that and say, thank God that happened. Yes, I lost things. Yes, it was hard. But billions of people have read my story and have come to God to it, have come to God for it. It's one of their favorite stories. I still live in the minds of humans today because of what happened to me. Thank you, God, for my punishment, for I see it was a gift.